August 21st, 2013 will now come to order for the purpose of conducting a hearing on the comp plan, our comprehensive plan, and for public comment. At this time, I would like to open the meeting with a pledge to our flag and a moment of silence. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. At this time, I'd like to make a couple statements in regards to the hearing. One of them being, I'd like to ask Helen, was this meeting duly advertised, Helen?
Yes, it was.
You have the copies of it?
Yep.
Okay, and the time frame is proper and correct?
Yes.
Okay. Those of you that wish to speak out here, when you wish to speak, please say your name slow and plain for our stenographer over here so that she can get it on there. And all of those that wish to speak, I think, need to stand and take that oath. Am I not correct on that, young lady?
Yes.
Okay, so those that wish to speak, now's the time to do that. Anybody want to have any comment? Sure, John?
Okay.
Sir, your name, please?
My name is John Gerner, G-E-R-N-E-R. And then what do I need to do?
You
Be
need,
sworn in?
yeah, you need to be sworn in.
Okay.
They're not
No.
really witnesses.
No, it's not.
It's
I don't
just
think
What's
so.
that?
I don't think they need to sworn in, do they?
No, I talked to Rich earlier about it. He wasn't able to be here, and he said it could be
Well,
either way.
okay.
But you'll,
Let's be safe and swear.
yeah,
swear them.
okay. Be safe and have everybody sworn in for their testimony or what
Okay.
what they have to offer.
Okay. So
Now, are you going to, are you asking for public comment now, or are you going to have
No.
a presentation first?
Okay, we're going to get this out of the road so that those that wish to speak can do it now. Say your name, if you will, so she can record it. Make the presentation, and if you don't speak then, John, well, it's okay. If you
Okay.
want to speak, and you'll be okay.
Okay.
We won't need to go through this one at a time then.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. What do I need to do?
Just-
does anybody else want to make a comment?
yeah.
I think you need to. You ought to just do the whole room, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just swear everybody in.
Okay,
Yeah, just-
then you'll have to state your name when you do speak. Okay, everybody raise your right hands, please. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Okay. Then when you arise to address the board, state your name, please, if you will. Okay. At this time, I'm going to turn this over to the Planning Commission for any comments they may have before Frank gives his presentation. Frank is here from the two, is a planner, been familiar with this, and him as well as our Planning Commission put a lot of work and a lot of effort in this over a long period of time. Everybody, I should state, was the township was getting behind on this, and several years ago I said we need to, according to township policy and what they recommend from PSAPs and et cetera, get along and updating. This is not a whole new comp plan. It's only an overview and an update to what we have in there and take a look at them. Am I not correct?
That's correct.
Okay, at this time I'll turn it over to Frank or Mr. Chisholm, who is chairman, and we proceed from there.
My name's Edward Chisholm. There's actually a junior on it, just since it's so official. I'm on the Penn Township Planning Commission. What we attempted to do was look at our existing comp plan, where there was problems or change needed in the existing comp plan. We tried to review that, make suggestions, which is what the comp plan is. It's not a change of the rules. It's a suggestion for where the rules need to be looked at in the future as we go forward. We spent a lot of time on this. We thought we had it done several times, and then what happened was we sent it to county reviewed it, then we incorporated their comments, And at the same time, the new census came back. So we had to go back through the whole comp plan again and revise everywhere where we use census figures in the one we had just completed. This is why it took so long and ran way over what we thought it was going to be. We reviewed current land use, tried to make a much more detailed map of what uses are currently taking place in Penn Township, where we see the places that we had zoned commercial that were used or not used, whether they needed to be expanded, where we had high density zones, whether that was used and needed expanded. That's how we went through this process. It was a lot more complicated than that. I just give you a quick overview of how we went about this. We tried to review every aspect of the plan. We didn't necessarily redo every section of the old comprehensive plan. Some things didn't need to be changed, so they were just left alone. And where we can, we'll answer questions. Thank you. And I have two other members, Art Piazza and Charlie Oakes is here with us. I don't know whether those fellows have anything to say at this point, but I just want you to know who we all are.
Chuck?
No, we're good.
Okay, thanks. This time I'll turn it over to Frank.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And welcome, everybody. This is a public hearing, so you're going to hear less of me tonight, and we want to hear more from you as residents of Penn Township on what your thoughts are about the draft comprehensive plan. Your comments will be recorded by the stenographer and by other individuals, and those comments will be represented to the Planning Commission for consideration of incorporating them into the plan or not incorporating them into the plan, or for further analysis. For those of you that may not know, the last comprehensive plan that was prepared by Penn Township dates back to 1994. As Mr. Chairman indicated, the rule of thumb is about every 10 years you update your comprehensive plan. We're going on 18, 19 years now since this plan was adopted. The township has seen some growth in 15 corridor. You now have the business campus. You've been subject to a very large subdivision land development plan 3-4 years ago. You know, that plan just happened to occur at the time that the recession hit and the housing market more or less tanked, and that plan did not go through. However, coming out of the comprehensive plan, the township was very proactive. It adopted a zoning ordinance, it adopted a park and recreation plan, it adopted an Act 537 plan, and there was major updates to the township subdivision and land development ordinance. Because the township was so proactive, was that some of those developments that came in that may have not fit the character of Penn Township, that the township was able to apply good zoning criteria and to make sure that all the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed for the developments that are being presented to the township in the past and currently. The principal goal of this comprehensive plan was to establish and maintain the best possible quality of life for the township residents. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's your same goal now in your comprehensive plan. How do we do that? Well, back in 2010, there was a public participation meeting held in this room here. And we talked about land use, we talked about transportation, we talked about public utilities and all types of other community planning related activities. The information that we received at that meeting was then presented back to the Planning Commission. And portions of that information, that feedback that we got, basically was the driving force behind what we're talking about here tonight, the revised or updated comprehensive plan. And there's really we talk about comprehensive plan, there's one major section, which is the future land use. And as Ed indicated, this isn't legislation. This isn't a legislative document. The zoning ordinance is the legislative document. This is a policy document. This sets the vision that we heard from the public, that we heard from the planning commission members, we heard from people who attended the planning commission meeting during the development of the future land use plan. So this is the future land use plan as proposed, and this is the township's current zoning ordinance. And what we heard was, and what we saw in our analysis, was that there was really a lot of land that was zoned R2 and R1 that wasn't really necessary to accommodate the growth the township was occurring, in the township and projected to occur. The future land use plan more or less contracted or shrunk some of those areas. And I've identified those on the zoning map here. Just to orientate yourself, this is Duncan Borough. This is 11 to 15 running up the river. This is the business campus. We are located, we're sitting right about somewhere right here. So we saw that on the northwest side of 15 there was a large area of R2 land. And determined at this point in time that amount of R2 land, which would allow for multifamily dwellings, just wasn't necessary. We also saw that down along in the 11 to 15 corridor, there was another large area of R2 land and another large area of R1 land. Again, that wasn't really necessary at this point in time to accommodate the future growth of the township. So what the future land use plan is saying is we're going to take those areas and we're going to revert them back to the forest conservation, and we're going to revert it back to the agricultural land classification. So what does that mean for zoning? The policy is here. The policy is saying that we want to revert some of this land to a less intense land use at this point in time. And remember, because this is a policy document, this can be looked at every year. And maybe at some point in the future, Penn Township may decide that they need some additional R2 land or additional R1 land. And the township then strategically look at this area and say, okay, well, we need to accommodate another 500 residents in 2030. And they can begin to plan on how this land is developed. So there's more hands-on, being proactive and not reactive to development within the township. So the future land use plan says we're going to revert some of the land back to some less intense land uses, and the areas that I've identified on the zoning map are those areas that would be reverted back to agricultural zoning district, and this would be reverted back to forest conservation. Those are the major changes with the plan. There's been discussion about the Cove area. There's been discussions about 11 and 15 kind of being the downtown area of Penn Township, to further look at that corridor and further develop it. And I'm sure some of you will have comments on that this evening. We see the township as having an appropriate amount of commercial, and especially with the business campus, to allow for that commercial needs of the township to occur and to grow. We all know that we don't want the residential property owners to bear the burden of tax burden. You know, we as planners recognize you need to have some commercial activity, some commercial growth to help offset that burden on the residential property owners. And some of that's occurring right now in the 15 corridor, and of course it's occurring in the business campus as we speak. So based upon our look at the township in terms of how much land is needed for residential growth, how much land is already identified as commercial, and how much of that land is fully developed as commercial, you know, we presented this policy statement to the Township Planning Commission. The Planning Commission reviewed it, they tweaked some areas, and you know, basically agreed that this was what was wanted to be presented to the Board of Supervisors and to the public, and to be incorporated into the comprehensive plan. This was looked at by the Perry County Planning Commission. They are in agreement with the policy statement. They're in agreement with the land use, the way it's laid out. And so we're here tonight to listen to what you have to say. If you had an opportunity to review the draft plan, you may have some thoughts and some comments. This is your time to speak to the board. This is your time to get your comments and your issues on the record for further consideration by the Planning Commission and by the Board of Supervisors. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to turn the meeting back to you to allow the public to speak.
Okay, thank you, Frank. He gave a good overall view there. I think they're really trying to explain to you what the purpose of the plan is and whatnot. It's a policy plan. It's something you take a look at. It is not the governing plan, or it's not the legal portion of it like the zoning is. But it's one of those things that we have to do every so often. And I think they've done a good job. I do know that the county has taken a look at this, and I had sat through a bunch of county meetings in regards to some of these issues with the county commissioners. And I think that what they have there is they put a lot of work into it, and I think it's pretty close to where the county and everybody else would like to see. But I may hear differently. So at this time, I'll take the first person to ask a question. Yes, Nancy.
Nancy Valdez, V-A-L-D-E-Z. And I'm certainly not an expert on this, but I guess I have just one question. How does eliminating residential areas allow for growth in the township, particularly with, on two counts, of course, the tax base, but also the population of the school district? It would seem that that's, to me, counterintuitive, where you're eliminating space for residential, not allowing for growth. I'm not sure how that works.
I think when Frank said that eliminated, they changed some land use there.
Right.
I don't think there's any one piece of ground in Penn Township that can't be built to this day, with the exception of that farmland that's reserved land.
What he had said about the forest
Okay.
conservation?
Okay, but that could be built also, Nancy.
Okay.
Okay? Am I not correct, Mr. Chisholm? There is allotment for all those places that there can be buildings and development in them. There is nothing in here that is landlocked to the point. I mean, some counties have it if it's zoned agriculture. That's all it's ever going to be. We don't have that, etc. But I'll refer that back to Frank or the Planning Commission if they wish to comment on that.
Briefly, do you want me to keep telling you who I am?
Yeah.
Briefly, what we did, Nancy, was we looked at all the ground that was zoned high-density residential. Then we looked at how much of it was used for high-density residential, and how much we still had laid out as high-density residential now. The suggestion for the update is to move your zoning in the direction of the land use that's taking place in your township. So when we suggested some of it revert to the current use, which some of what was high-density residential went back to forest conservation, and that was your question.
Right.
That's the suggestion of what should happen, what maybe the township would do in the future if they change zoning. It's not changing any of it for this plan, but it's a suggestion of looking at current uses and current zoning, what's being utilized. If I'm making the point, if we had 100 acres laid out as high-density residential, and 10 of it's been used in the last 15 or 17 years, maybe it doesn't make sense to keep it all laid out in high-density residential in the locations that it's currently laid out. Maybe as that land's used up for high-density residential, we choose to move that to a new location. But for both the high-density residential and the R1 low-density residential, some of it, yes, reverted back to ag. The suggestion was to revert it back to ag or forest conservation if it's not used up in the future and the map is they choose to redo zoning again. In other words, what we're doing is we're trying to forecast what should happen by the current uses.
Okay, will this be another roadblock? I mean, I'm just seeing a lot less yellow on the future land use map. If somebody does come in and want to have high density, build something, will this new plan then be another stumbling block for them? Because, I mean, we could just say then, well, no, it's not zoned for that. As opposed to,
I understand exactly what you're saying,
yeah.
and the only way that could happen is if this was adopted as the new zoning map. In other words, the comprehensive plan is only a suggestion for the future. And the reason we do the review of this is if in the future we may find that somewhere else would be better used for high-density residential than what's currently shown on the current zoning map. So these suggestions are for changes for the future as needed. So no, this comprehensive plan update in no way eliminates any building high-density or low-density.
Depending on what's done tonight, the map on the top will be adopted?
No.
Oh, no? Okay.
And once again, what they were trying to explain is the whole comprehensive plan is the suggestions for the future. It in no way becomes law. It's a suggestion for future use, and if and when the township should choose to change the zoning, there would be a whole new process to change the zoning. So once again, this comprehensive plan update is a suggestion for the future, and in no way is any kind of law or it's not binding whatsoever.
So I guess I don't want to come across, why adopt it then?
Because the government's, the municipal plan code says we have to review.
So why not leave it the way it is?
What this does, it says,
Sir, your
for
name?
planning purposes,
Sir?
Arthur Del Piazza, capital D.
I'm sorry.
Arthur Del Piazza, capital D-A-L-L-A, space, capital P-I-A-Z-Z-A.
Thank you.
What this does is it's a guidance for somebody who wants to develop. We would like them to develop in those areas where we're designating in the comprehensive plan.
Right.
It's a guideline,
Right.
because that's the best place for them to do it. Some of the areas down along the lower area there where you're converting back to the conservation is because when we did our overlay map for steep slopes, some of that area is not too good for development for R2.
That's the area though that the developers come in, that they have a plan, am I right?
They wanted to do
Oh,
R2,
meeting
but
down
they put
high
it
school.
adjusted into the slope overlay. So one of the reasons why we were putting that back to conservation is because even now it's zoned R2, but it's not a good place to put the R2 development. Because
It's
it's
correcting the map that was done before, or suggestion for corrections. Please understand, adopting this comprehensive plan in no way changes any of the zoning in Penn Township. It's simply a suggestion for the future.
Yeah, I just, you know, planning is all about timing of development. And when you look at how much land that you have currently zoned R2, the future population projections, you can't accommodate. There's so much land zoned R2 that can be developed. You would double the size of the township. And that's not going to happen. People aren't moving to Penn Township in those types of numbers to warrant all this land to be zoned R2. So what you do is you accommodate the R2 land for the growth rate of the township. Now, and these gentlemen have said it, when you reach a point where all this land is fully built out, and that's when you have the opportunity to start looking at where would you like to see the R2 development occur. And there's many factors that go into that. It's access to transportation, it's access to water and sewer, it's access to even to the school, because kids may have to walk to school. There may be a requirement from the district within so many miles. So if you're going to have higher density, you want to play the role of being proactive and guiding where you want that to occur. So we know that around Duncannon Borough is a good location for high density, because people can walk down into the boroughs, all types of services within the borough. In the future, when this is all developed and all this other R2 and R1 land is developed, that's when the township has the ability to say, well, we need another 500 acres or 250 acres of R2 land for our future development or future growth. And then, just say this whole area is 1,000 acres. They don't need to zone 1,000 acres R2 all at once. They can plan on where they want the R2 land. So it really becomes a mode for the elected officials and the public to really begin to direct on where do you want that growth to occur, and just not a shotgun or throw spaghetti at the wall and see where it lands type development. That's the whole approach behind this, is best fitting the amount of development, proposed development or projected development with the right amount of land zoned for residential development and commercial development.
Yes, John.
John Gerner, G-E-R-N-E-R. I'd like to address this, as acknowledge, first of all, that this is a policy document. There is nothing, that legally that is, by adopting this, is going to put it, make those changes. The zoning still has to be changed. However, this document does make a number of rather significant recommendations that will carry a lot of weight in that process once this plan is approved. Okay. The zoning that you talked about, where down behind the school, where they're going from R2 to forest conservation. Policy document recommends that in forest conservation, the lot sizes be increased from minimum of 4 acres to a maximum of 10 acres. No, to a minimum of 10 acres. So it's basically saying that this whole area, we want bigger lots. We want bigger lots. It also makes a recommendation that that the minimum lot size in the residential areas that are not served by sewer and water, in other words, that would be on wells and septic systems, that minimum lot size go from 1.5 acres to 2 acres. Again, expanding or making you can get less development. Okay. In addition, in the agricultural area, there's a phrase in here that says that they want to severely restrict the use of agricultural land for land development. for development of residences. So as a policy document, this sets the stage for future actions. And it basically sets the stage that we want to slow down development in the township. And I'll acknowledge that, that there is, preserving the rural character of the township is laudable. I think that it's a very good thing to strive for. But I don't think that we can really afford to do it to the extent that we have. One of the issues that's pointed out in this comprehensive plan is the fact that the average population in this township is getting a lot older. Since between 20 census, the 2000 census and 2010, the average age has increased significantly. What does that, and yet this document, being a policy document, really does not explore what does that mean for Penn Township. Okay. I'll paint a little picture for what that means. Okay. What it means is you're going to get a lot more guys with gray hair like me. And a lot fewer guys like, some of these gentlemen here that are wage earners.
There's only two.
They contribute significantly to the township, not only in terms of the business in the township, but also in terms of the earned income tax. And the earned income tax is the largest funder of township business. So if we are getting older, you're going to get more guys like me who does not contribute earned income tax. So what we're also seeing is that what it means is that our younger population, our youngsters, are moving out of the township. They're not staying here to raise their families, and as a result, we aren't seeing growth. We aren't seeing those things that would create the township that we would like to see. Preserving its rural character is fine. That's great. But you also got to take a look at what is the future. If we continue going the way we're going right now, what is that future going to look like? And what's it going to mean for John Q. taxpayer? As a policy document, this document makes no analysis of those changes and makes no recommendations for what should be done or what could be done to stem that outflow of people out of the township. My sense is after 20 years, that is really something that should be done. We should be looking at these and determining the long-term implications for the township, so that we can then beginning to use this policy document to then, make educated decisions on where we want the township to go. My belief is that if we adopt, or if the Board of Supervisors adopts this plan the way it is, we might not see it, revised again for how long? And we're going to be headed in it, and we're going to be headed continually down this same path. I'm all for nostalgia. I mean, I love to reminisce about the good old days. When gas was 25 cents, when you could buy a loaf of bread for 39 cents. I mean, I cut the grass listening to the Beach Boys today. I mean, that's how nostalgic I am, But the point is that we cannot rest on nostalgia. We have to look forward into the future to see where we're headed, to paint a picture of what, and then to paint a picture of where we would like this township to be. That's my concern is that if this is a policy document, it misses the mark significantly when it comes to where we're headed. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, John. As I sat through many of those meetings with the county, I heard those exact sentiments echoed with no resolve in every township in Perry County. We're not just alone on that, okay? And it's not that it's felt that it's being done, but if you sat in there and listened to so many of those planners that were there, and they had good people there, they had developers there, and they had good programs that I sat there and listened to. And the issue is you can take all of that and make it all high density all over Penn Township. But if nobody wants to sell that land, you can't turn it into high density. I don't recall of anybody coming in here and saying, I want this, or I think I ought to have this, or this and that, in regards to that, I would sell my land if you changed it. I've never heard that in the years that I've been here. So I have heard it in the reverse, that they were concerned by golly about how it was being zoned years ago, and the whole 9 yards. And incidentally, the period of time that this comp plan was done and the zoning, I was one that was here that had an awful lot of input, that had an awful lot of things to say against it and for it when it was being done, but at that time I was not a supervisor. So some of those things that you see at that time, I think have been addressed, they've been looked over the years, and you can do with it what you want, but you cannot make people sell their land. And that is those areas. You could take 274 corridor from here clear out to Penn Township, make it as wide as you want, commercial, high density or whatnot. But if none of those people want to sell that, it's not going to turn into that.
But Henry does.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, could you say your name?
Yes, Nancy.
Sorry.
And I mean, not to interrupt, but I'll get back to you, Nancy. That's getting a little bit away from where we're at here, but it's also part of this thing. This is a footprint that's not going to change anything that we don't have at the present time. So now I'll take your question, Nancy.
But doesn't this, in fact, I understand you can't make people sell their land. Nobody wants to do that. But doesn't this plan, in effect, restrict property owners, some property owners' options if they do want to sell?
Well, I guess I'm going to answer a couple of things there. Excuse me, Mr. Schwartz. Not answer Nancy here a couple of things. As you set through some of these, other townships, because of, have larger lots, for residential lots. Somebody wants to sell them off. Reason being, they have larger lots for house after house after house. Remember, they have the 2 acres. And that's to fall into an area where it's not feasible or probable to put storage or et cetera in a lot of cases, you know what I'm saying, because of alternate systems and et cetera. So every township takes a look at that different, than what we have here. Your high density where you have storage, unfortunately in our rural areas, we're limited with that. Where we have store areas, with the exception of business campus up here. We got Stonebridge has their own out here. And we got up through the Purdy's corridor, and we've got the one development out here, which will attach to that if this thing goes through out here. They've been working on for 8 years. They're in an area where it's next to the facilities and the infrastructure that they need, water and sewer. So that's going to take place. So I wouldn't know, in my mind, where would you be inhibited, or where would you be holding Henry Holman up if I want to sell a lot on my farm? Not at all. Not doing a thing to me. Not a thing. Sell all I want. You're not hurting me. There's nothing here in the township that's putting an undue burden on me or hurting me at all. I could build Sawmill Road end to end. In Allender Drive, in Holman Drive. What's there to keep me from doing it? You don't have it in your zoning, it says I can't. Mr. Schwartz.
You're not the only farm. Alan Schwartz, S-C-H-W-A-R-T-Z. I'm just going to back up a little bit from where you started. In 2006, I was one of the original guys that wanted to buy in that industrial park. They denied me. Till this day, I don't even know why. Never got an answer. They just shot me down a couple times. Stanley was there. I appealed it twice. Still no answer till today. So whatever happened out there, I don't know. But I'm listening to Ms. Valdez and John here, And a couple of things I've just been looking at is basically is the fact of, I'm a business guy, and I built a practice because I thought this area would grow. I really did. I came from where the adult bookstore is now, the Gentleman's Club. To me, I should have stayed there. I was doing better there than I'm really doing here. It's costing me a lot more economics, a lot more taxes, and yet no growth. And that's why I'm here, is because there isn't any growth. People are moving out. I'm seeing young kids that are going, I'm getting out of here. My own daughter didn't want to stay here because there's nothing here. And it kind of shot me down a little bit, but the thing is, I'm here because I'd like to see some growth. I love the country, I'm not saying I don't, but we have to have some roofs put up for tax purposes, get the schools somewhat better, get businesses going a little bit more. It seems like every place you go around, there are businesses. I mean, there's plazas opening up, and Walmart opened up in an area that was all farmland. But here, nothing has changed. And I don't understand why. I don't know who you guys talk to, but the people that I talk to, people want growth. People want housing. And yet, I'm listening to this part, and I'm going, nobody wants housing. You want to change, I don't like this about this, I don't see one place that says we can put up homes in this area. It seems like we want to get into conservation, agriculture. What left is in agriculture? Who farms anymore today in reality? I don't know many. The Robs are the only ones that I really know. And what are they, 80 years old by now? I mean, they're getting older. I don't know anybody who's farming like they used to back in the days. So I'm sure there's plenty of property that can be into housing. You go up 11 to 15, I was thrilled to death when that mountain was going to open up with beautiful homes. And it stopped. How did the hell they even get that far? I couldn't even put up a driveway without going through a whole bunch of planning. But yet they got that far and then all of a sudden, bang, nothing went beyond that. So I don't know what's going on except what I'm listening to now. That's why I'm here. And it's kind of discouraging. It really is for me. Now, I don't know, I mean, I don't know who else has businesses around, but as a business guy, it's looking pretty grim here. So I'm hoping we do change something before we adopt anything and say, you know what, maybe it is some time for some housing, because the taxes that I pay is 10 times more than I was doing on the other side of the river. And it's like, I don't want to leave, I don't want to move, but I'd love to get another veterinarian, but the area does not support one, but other places do. So I'm worried what is happening in this area in the next several years. Because I'm not going to be around forever either. I mean, I'm as gray as most of us, except maybe 2 people. But basically, you know, I don't know what's going to be. But I can't even get a veterinarian to even help me because there's not enough business in reality. So I'm hoping, you know, there's other people here that will say something that will help us kind of turn the table a little bit and think maybe it's more time for business to get into this area of housing than just making it conservation and agriculture. And just changing all this land that could be homes than just leaving it as weeds. So I'm hoping to hear some others here.
Dr. Swartz, I have a question for
Sure.
you, Cece Novinger. You refer to a driveway for a development on a mountain, and it hasn't happened. Where are you referring to?
We went up 11 to 15, right after, you know, what Mary's done.
That would be Marysville Borough, that's not Penn Township.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's why I built, because I thought houses would be going in. So if it's not there, not here, where?
I just wanted to make that point clear that that is not Penn Township.
Okay.
And that seems to be a problem that's not solely a Penn Township problem as far as lack of housing.
All right,
Development.
so let's talk about this area then.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Peter.
Yes, Brian Peters, P-E-T-E-R-S. Mr. Swartz, I have to agree with you. There are residents in this township that do want to see planned change. This past spring, as I was going out door to door, I met our residents face to face, telling me we want to see growth, planned growth, managed growth. We're not looking at what Somerdale or East Pennsville did with a mountain bike, ripping it apart. How many can testify driving down 1115 going past Susquehanna High School? You may see a few houses around Susquehanna High School, but how many houses do you see back behind Susquehanna? That was planned and managed housing. Did we rip apart the mountain? Did we disgrace the mountain? Those homes are nicely tucked in there. Nobody sees them. Nobody knows they're back there. Planned. We talked about Duncannon Borough. Are they willing to work with us when we want to develop around their borough? Because my understanding and knowledge was Duncannon Borough resisted Petersburg Estates. There was some issues with that, did not want that built there. So do we have our neighbor really wanting to work with us? Duncannon's dying just like our township's dying. Okay? The other thing here is that this plan is only a suggested plan. This is not a legally binding plan. But we keep hearing that little word, zoning. When are our commissioners currently going to change the zoning and make this thing legal? That is my question. We always got to look at the future. I say we need to grow our township. We have businesses here that can benefit. We have residences. Listen, folks, we are spending millions of dollars over in Cumberland County every year. Millions of tax dollars that could be servicing not just Penn Township, but because serving our county. But yet, we're afraid of a little bit of growth. I'm not looking at tearing our township up. I love it. Was I born and raised in Penn Township? No. Is my roots here? My family roots are from here. Going all the way back to the original Peters that had 19 sons that populated this area with Peters even today. Okay, so I've taken pride in our township. I love our township, and I love the people of this township because I met them face to face. This right here does not have our residents' opinion except for tonight. Townships around us have gone to their residents and saying, come to us, tell us what you would like to see happen in our township. How would you like to develop our township? Townships all the way up and down the 81 corridor have done that. They cooperated from township to township. But we have nothing. We have no communication with our residences. And it's time that we make the change. It's time we tell our commissioners or our township supervisors that we want planned growth and do not make this legally binding by changing the zoning and making it more restrictive than it already is. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I guess I have some. My name's Tom Radel.
I'm sorry, Tom?
Tom Radel, R-A-D-E-L, and I'm actually one of the farmers that are here. My main concern, Henry, is I'm not saying myself, because we live on the farm, obviously the kids will get the farm, most likely. 10 years down the road, I don't want them restricted to the point that they're stuck with it, as far as lot sizes or whatever. They should, if they need to get out of this township, which a lot of young people are doing, they should have that right to be able to sell it and get out without somebody sitting in this room telling them what they can and can't do with it. And that's my concern.
I guess the
Is there any
question,
changing on lot sizes with the agricultural rural areas compared to what it is now?
nope. Nope. Tom? No.
Lot sizes on agriculture are the same as R1.
R1,
Someone
same.
said there was going to be a sliding scale. I guess that was never.
Nope.
Someone said a lot.
Someone else, Tom.
The facts
That's
are.
why I'm here.
Don't exist, Tom.
The ag area is developed at 2-acre lots, just like all the R1 residential. There's no other restriction on that. There is on some businesses on that, but not residential development.
As long as those businesses are agriculturally
Yes.
related, there's no restrictions. Is that correct?
Anybody, Tom, that enrolls in Clean and Green, which I believe you have in the South, we impose more restrictions on our development ourselves than what this township has put on it. You got to realize that. And I know you're aware of that. We pose some really restrictions on yourself of what you can do with it and what's going to cost you to change it. And you volunteered to do that, just as I have. And so, but your answer to your question, you heard it from Mr. Chisholm. No, Tom, that hasn't taken place.
Well, and I'm not stupid. I realize in order to make growth, for tax base to come down, you need business and you need residential. but you need to have that happy medium. You really do. You need to slow it down, but you can't stop it. You need to allow
Nobody's
it.
trying to stop it.
But that's what people are saying.
That's what they're feeling, but I don't see it, and I don't, at all the meetings I had with the county, nobody there saw it. And I did spend some time at this time trying to make sure that we looked at every avenue, and then I'm not going to go into that because we're having a hearing here for your public comments. Those issues there, which I reported at the township meeting, I made my statements, you know, in regard to that, and some of the problems, like Mr. Schwartz, we didn't keep you out of the business campus, this township, we didn't do that.
No, I'm just saying,
No,
why?
We didn't.
What happened?
Yeah, well, we didn't create those covenants so you couldn't go in there. I'm sorry.
No, I know that, I had to deal with whoever.
Yeah,
I didn't know who I dealt with.
but it wasn't here.
Okay.
We didn't do that. So that, I know where you're coming from, Tom, and I understand what you're saying. But what you're talking about, you don't think you're going to be able to do, you can do, and you will be able to do, Tom.
And that's why I'm here.
That's
But in the same token, agreeing with some of the things Mr. Schwartz said, you go outside the county or outside the township, you see a Pizza Hut coming in, you see a McDonald's. There is perfect land down along Lemon 15 where that stuff should have already been here, and it's not. And it is a question on why. I mean, it is a question. Why isn't it here?
because probably Pizza Hut and McDonald's don't want to come there for a reason. Location, location, location. You know, I keep going about that. I heard an awful lot of that with the county, and good reasoning on that, where we're at in our locations. Geographically, we're kind of hamstrung here, let me tell you, pretty much. But I'll let it alone at that, and get back to the, not to get off track here, get back to the hearing for the public comment. Anybody else? One more time, John.
Okay, John Garner. I hear what you said is that, you know, that the many townships in the county are experiencing the same thing.
Correct.
And I guess my thought would be is we can kind of just sit here and wring our hands and say, woe is me, you know, what's happening to everybody. Or we can, you know, we can take a look at, and what can we do? What options do we have? And you know, to change that. You know, maybe, you know, there are Blaine and some other places that are much further removed. Yes, they have a much more significant problem than we do because we have access to some good roads, a fair amount of traffic on those roads, and you know, and we are a corridor that some people, you know, use to commute with. So, but why can't we use, you know, some of those pluses and sit down and create a strategy that would encourage development, you know, commercial development or whatever through this area. And one of the thoughts, I know, you know, the whole concept of what we would do to, you know, has been talked about at a previous township meeting. But my thought would be is that you know, if we identify an area that where we would like to see growth, create that, you know, that corridor down 11 and 15, where kind of like where Sheets moved in, you created a special use zone down at that location. My thought is why can't we expand that special use zone? Create a vision for that zone. What are the kinds of businesses we would like to see in there? And then develop some sort of an encouragement, an inducement for that. And it could be as simple as, okay, right now our tax structure is this. You know, it's undeveloped land. Those taxes on that land are X amount. Okay, they're not increasing because nothing's going on. What if we were to say to a developer, okay, if you come in and you meet these conditions in this special use district for the kinds of businesses we want to see, we'll hold your taxes as they are now for the first 5 years. And then in years 5 through 10, we'll begin to ratchet them up to where they should be based on the development that you bring in. So essentially creating some sort of a financial incentive for them to come in that would overcome the costs or help them overcome the costs of opening a brand new business. But then also assure the township that in years 5 through 10, we will be back to where we, you know, in terms of revenue generation. I think that would be, you know, something that could be done to encourage in the use. Give us another leg up that, you know, some of these other townships might not have. But a thought for consideration. As a policy document, I think this comprehensive plan ought to be looking at those kinds of strategies that will paint a brighter picture for the township.
You know, I'm sitting here and I'm listening to planned growth, and you have to have a vision for the corridor to allow business to come in, and we talk about brain drain, our kids are leaving the township. And, you know, and I sit here and, you know, I have over 20 years of involvement in Perry County and Penn Township. And the Penn Township is probably light years ahead of many other municipalities in Perry County in terms of your land use, your comprehensive plan, your zoning ordinance. You know, let's talk about brain drain. Why are kids leaving the area? Because there's no jobs. You get the biggest job generator in the future right here in Penn Township is a business campus. Now, yeah, there's issues dealing with the restrictions and what can go in there, but that's supposed to be the job generator for Perry County. That's supposed to keep people from going over to Dauphin and Cumberland County looking for work. You have the 11 and 15 corridor. It's all commercial. John, just what you said. What's the vision of that corridor? It's commercial. It's already commercial. The uses are already allowed. Every use that you talked about, from McDonald's to a doctor's office, is allowed to go within that 11 and 15 corridor. The vision is already sitting there. It's just a matter of trying to get the businesses to see value in moving to the 11 and 15 corridor and dealing with the traffic and, you know, trying to get their customers to cross 3 lanes of traffic and issues that business people have to deal with. Sheets came in, the Dollar General came in, the small shopping center was constructed. So there is activity occurring. The vision is actually being met. R2 land is where we identify for elderly housing. Do you want elderly housing way out here where there's no services? Or are you looking at trying to promote elderly housing where there are services, where they can walk down and to a pharmacy, or they can go downtown and they can interact with the people within the borough and the services? Everything that you guys talked about, I don't mean to push back at anybody here, but I just want to let everybody know, everything that we talked about tonight is sitting here as a vision on this future land use plan. At the public participation meeting, somebody said that we need more $300,000 homes, plus homes. You're not going to get a $300,000 home on a 20,000 square foot lot. So if there's an opportunity to develop it as far as conservation with big homes, that's where it's going to occur. Do we want to preserve our agricultural base? I think you talk to any planner, you talk to the county conservation district, the ag people, yeah, if there's an opportunity to begin to think about preserving our agricultural base, they would all support that. Now, it doesn't mean that this has to be like this for the next 500 years. When there's time and the development pressure and the timing of development occurs, then you can begin to look at expanding that R2 land in other areas. So I guess I'm hearing what you're saying in terms of like the vision, and you know, we have to have the 15 corridor and take advantage of that. I'm not sure how much more you can take advantage of the 15 corridor with all the commercial land that's already identified here. 274, tremendous amount of commercial land out in the 274 corridor. You have the R2 land. There's some of that land right now. How many units are proposed in that development right now? 100 and some units? 78 units in that development right now?
74, I think.
74. So there is growth coming to the township, and it's the vision that's driving it. It's this plan. It's the efforts of the elected officials and people before them that set the vision. All this is doing is just saying we don't need to just have a shotgun approach at this, and let's, as a municipality, as a township, decide how and when we want to open up our land for development, and what type of development do we want to occur. So I guess what I'm saying is what everybody's saying here tonight is actually sitting right here. And you may have to look through the forest to see that, but I'm not quite sure how much more. Do we rename the commercial area along 15 to mixed-use commerce? Is that a fancier name to encourage people and businesses to locate there? But again, we have a lot of commercial land. And there's a lot of residential land within that corridor. A lot of homes are in that corridor. So, you know, those people may not want their land to be zoned commercial. So I guess what I'm saying is, the vision is here. Everything that you talked about tonight is actually occurring in Penn Township. You can get bigger homes. The brain drain, that's happening everywhere. The city of Harrisburg is losing people. Everybody's moving out. They're looking for high-paying jobs, family-sustaining jobs. The effort is being made to try and keep some of that here in Penn Township. So, Mr. Chairman, I mean, again, I guess I don't want to sound, as if I'm pushing back too hard, but I just want to point out to everybody that what the Planning Commission has done and the direction that we received from the public participation meeting is actually everything that you guys are talking about right now. It may not be exactly the way you might picture it on a map. It may not be the right name. It may not be. It may not include any tax deferment. That in itself is a major undertaking to seek tax deferment through the school district and through the county and through the local municipality. Maybe something that you want to further pursue. If that's something that's of interest, that can be looked at. But I think, I think where Penn Township stands, where you're located within the region as a whole, what your future population projection is looking like, this plan really sets forth a very good vision for what's to occur. Now, if I came in here and I took all this commercial land out of the 11 and 15 corridor, I would sit here and I would say, I agree with you 110%. It's shutting the township down completely. It's there. It's encouraging business to move into the township. It's using the county economic development people. It's using the regional economic development people to be more proactive to identify these lots that are developable, that can be built upon, to encourage businesses, a McDonald's, a Walmart, or something to come into this area. I can guarantee you, if a Walmart came here, this room would be twice as packed, opposing Walmart coming into this area. Because Walmart is just down the road. It's a few miles down the road. You can be at the Walmart. So you're fighting a lot of competition, which is very close to Penn Township. And business people are making decisions based upon, as you said, Mr. Schwartz, the number of people and accessibility and access. And when it comes to those big decisions, right now, those decisions are being made down in Cumberland County and Dauphin County, and you're within 20 minutes of all that activity. That's the unfortunate part of what you're not seeing and why you're not seeing major growth within the 15 corridor. Plus, the corridor itself is very heavily traveled.
Well, what about homes coming in? So they can travel. They're only 15, 20 minutes from Harrisburg. But the thing is, homes can still go in. I live off 849. There hasn't had a new home in years go up.
There's 74 homes proposed right now that's been going through the pipeline in a planned, it's a planned development, and it's going through the pipeline right now. It's been, what, 8 years through the process. The township is working with the developer. Not sure how it will end up. It's been through many different iterations. So yeah, so that will occur. And will this bench area, that's the R2, could that be developed in the future with higher density? It certainly could, but people aren't moving into Perry County at the rate that would require that land to be sitting there as R2. People have said they want larger lots, vistas, views, big expensive homes. That's what you're going to get within this area. R2 land is going to be multifamily, apartments, townhouses, compact development. Is that, there's like-minded people that move into those areas. I bet you many of you wouldn't move into a very dense development. So that's all I'm saying. I mean, so please, when you look at this, this is really capturing everything that we've talked about tonight.
Jody, you haven't been recognized yet.
Jody Rissinger, J-O-D-I.
I'm sorry, your last name?
Rissinger, R-I-S-S-I-N-G-E-R. Just a couple really quick questions. I apologize, I came in at the end of this and I've seen some drafts flying around, but the public input, where, when, how was that advertised? How was it gathered? How many people were participants in that
Well,
public input?
that goes back to April 22nd of 2010. It was advertised,
Record,
normally the way we advertise,
Re-
Ellen, you advertise a meeting.
in the record.
Conducted here in this room. Bet you we had
7, 8,
10 people.
yeah,
Yeah.
10 out of, what's our population?
1,300.
1,300.
I'm sorry, 3,000.
What, was there, 3,000. Was there anything in the township newsletter soliciting input into the development of the comprehensive plan?
I don't believe what survey was put into it,
So we
no.
haven't done any surveys. We've advertised in papers that have limited distribution. If you're not watching the website looking for updated information, which I had to dig to find this meeting tonight, and you're not a subscriber to, if it's in the Patriot News, you're not going to get that information. I read Wheatfield Township's comprehensive survey,
Mm-hmm.
and the handout that they provided at their public hearing and the summary of all of the things and all of the changes that they've made, and we are nowhere near that. Understanding, we're closer to the Cumberland County and those locations, but I, for one, have to drive 20 minutes to go to get food unless I want to eat at the same place every evening or every weekend. My children, I have 4, 2 of the 4 have ventured out of the area, never to return. If I could, I would be gone as well. It's not a place to raise a family. It's not a place to live. It's a great place to farm. It's a great place to walk in the mountain, but it's not a place to live. You talk about being able to walk to receive the services. I don't know if anybody's ventured through Duncannon Borough lately, but that's becoming a ghost town as well, because I think that has obviously an aged population in and of itself. You're losing businesses from there. As far as making that corridor on the 11 and 15 a mixed-use commercial, absolutely. I wouldn't have to go through the extra paperwork I have to because I have a shed on a commercial property that is now deemed it mixed use because I'm storing property in there. So we talked about this at other meetings. I don't see Randy Rohr here tonight, but he brought up very similar instances several months ago. I know this has been a topic at several township meetings. I apologize, I haven't been to planning commission meetings. I spend enough time at meetings in this township. You talk about access to services. Services are restricted in this township. I'm not going to go there, but understanding what you're presenting is not conducive to anyone wanting to move in or stay. Brain drain or not, you're still forcing people to drive out of the area and spend that money out of the area.
Just, and when you say that, when you say you're forcing people to drive out of the area, we have all this commercial land identified.
Right.
How are we forcing people to drive out of the area? What's the driving force to bring business into the town? I guess that's a question that really needs to be asked. How do you get business to come into the area so you don't have to drive out of the area? Other than starting a business and locating there, but how do you encourage a Giant or another supermarket to compete with what we already have here in the township? There's not a need for 2 supermarkets for the population. So you're not going to have how do you encourage a Walmart to locate here when they have 2 or 3 Walmarts just down the road?
You don't need a Walmart, but you do need more than a Dollar General. And you have Dollar General right down the road. You have no, if you look at the properties, and yes, they're zoned commercial, but look at the aesthetics. Who wants to put a business in beside a burned out business or a
That's a whole different issue.
grown-up business?
That's right.
But it all goes in the management of the township.
And that's a whole other issue about the land is zoned for exactly what you're looking for a restaurant, for additional shopping opportunities. So the whole issue is it's somebody coming in and Dino's or whatever that restaurant that's burnt out down there. Why hasn't that redeveloped? You know, that's a great location. Is the developer, the owner holding on to that piece of land for something in the future? Why didn't he redevelop that property? That's something that this plan can't dictate to somebody to say, you have to redevelop the land. It says, we want, and here are the uses that we encourage to go there. Everything that we've talked about, shopping, restaurants, but it's up to the business person, it's up to the investor, it's up to the,
Well, and again, just to respond to that, I really wish Randy Moore were here, because he has the strip across from Sheets, up from, right down from Big B Boats. He owns Big B Boats, and he has that strip mall. He's had a diner, he's had 2 subways. The subway that's in there currently is failing. He has a sports bar in there. He has a physical therapy location, and he has a tax business. But how many have remained vacant? How many have flipped over businesses? Like I said, 2 Sheets, a diner, there was something else before the diner in that end lot. Each step of the way, there is a roadblock. Again, not necessarily in the comprehensive plan, but in the overall, how is it handled between board to board to board. There is a roadblock on each of the commercial areas. You look at the ward property. You've got, and I don't want to point out, but you've got litigation against them. You've got restricted. Oh no, you can't have a tattoo shop because the needles are going to make too much noise. And I'm sorry for being facetious, but there has been so much restriction to businesses, and unless it's a business that's favored, it's not coming here because it's going to have extra layers of paperwork to do.
Unless it's allowed by right within the commercial district, then if they want to locate, then there's a process that they can
Correct.
appeal and go through.
The only people that have made an attempt to come in are recycling centers. How many different recycling centers can you have on a commercial corridor when you're trying to attract better business?
Tom, right over here. But my question is, too, isn't it true that if a business does come in there, they have to do the upgrades to the sewer? Because all the money we spent on that sewer line down there, it's not adequate enough to control a large business expansion down there. You hear all the time about the problem with the municipal authority.
I don't believe that's so, Tom.
Do you think it could handle a large business surplus in there? Without costing the businesses a lot of money to upgrade as they're built? That's my point. Do you think that may be a stumbling block on why businesses might look at that and say, well, it's going to cost too much money to do it? On top of us building a building, we don't want to do it. That's my, and I don't know. I'm asking the question.
Yes, Chuck.
My name is Charlie Oakes. Just Jody really gave us the reason why business is going to come in here. They can't survive. We have a very busy corridor, 8 in the morning, 5 at night, and that's it. Look at all the restaurants that have failed in there. When Sheets went in, we had a boom, right? We had car lots come in, every one of them failed. It looks like this Appalachian looks to me like, he's running out of cars there as well. But we don't have enough business to support a Pizza Hut or any kind of corporate restaurant like that, because we don't have the population here at night to support it. It's kind of like we gotta have more people here for build the restaurants, and we just don't have them. So, like I said, we can easily go to Enola if we want to today. So, it's a catch-22 whether, we know we have a bedroom community. The only people that have been able to take advantage of that high traffic is Sheets, because people need a lot of gas. But as far as taking your family in there, how many restaurants have been in there? And then how many different car lots have we had? 3 right in that quarter of a mile. And then, of course, the old King's Inn, its current situation, that's not bringing any business. And I think they were probably about under the tubes whenever they caught fire anyways. So, whether anybody would come through Perdix and build a $300,000 house up on that mountain, I mean, I don't know, maybe they would, but not under the way the economy is today. I doubt if they will. And where would these people all work? Would they all be lawyers? We do have a lot of lawyers in the area, but whether they want to come to Cove Mountain, I don't know. That's all.
Okay, one more time, Mr. Schwartz, then
Yeah, I
we're
just
going to move
want
on.
to, comment on your thing is like, but they don't have to be $300,000 homes. There's a lot of homes that could be 150, 200,000, let's say. You don't need these 10-acre lots unless somebody wanted to buy 10 acres. But that would bring in people, bring in the kids, make the school district better. Businesses will thrive, I think, more because I like to stay local. I really don't want to fly all over God's creation to find a place to eat. I'd love to stay local. But, like you were saying, diners come and go every 2 minutes in our plaza. 1 minute, yes, we got one, it's gone. You put it right, it's gone. Why? Nobody supports them. There's nobody there to go and eat.
Can I,
Sure.
Charlie Oaks again. Quite frankly, I have a lot of relatives in Cumberland County, and I know work with a lot of business people down there. If somebody new comes here from New Jersey, first thing they're going to recommend is Cumberland Valley School District. They're not going to say, I want you to go to Susquehanna. I mean, that's a fact, that's all.
It'd be nice to be changed a little bit, Love to see that.
John, one more comment, and
Okay.
we're going to move on.
Okay, one thing.
Sir, I'm sorry, your name?
John Berner. A couple of supervisors meetings ago, there was a big hubbub was made that there was a gun manufacturing place up in Connecticut that was looking to move. And we said, well, why don't we send them a letter? Why don't we send them a letter? Maybe they'd come down here and move to us. Okay. What do you think would be the first thing that they were going to say in their letter response saying, it looks pretty nice. Okay, what are you going to do to help me get here? What are you going to do to help me establish my business here? Well, we would say, well, nothing. Just come here. My point remains is that as a policy document, we have nothing in here that talks about, okay, these are the issues we've identified. Nobody wants to live here, we're losing population, blah, 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 blah. We don't identify any of those issues, and we don't identify any strategies or, any policies that we could look at in the future to encourage it. Case in point, the gun manufacturer. Okay, there is the issue of the business part. We are a taxing authority that has a that would gain revenue. Okay, why can't we look at cutting back some of our taxes to get somebody in there for at least initially? And we're not earning any taxes on it now. So what are we losing? We're losing maybe 5 years worth of taxes. I mean, my point is this policy, this document as a policy document has nothing in it when it comes to strategies to make the township better. And that's what a comprehensive plan really ought to do, is it really ought to identify strategies. As you pointed out, the Wheatfield Township Plan, has a number of things that they're proposing to do to address those township concerns. I was impressed. I was really impressed with the quality of that document. The solicitation of public views, what's working, what's not, what should be improved, and ours pales significantly in comparison.
Frank, any comments? Any further comments? Yes, Lee.
Lee Wright. Talking about commercial property, I'd love to move a garden center down there, but under the current regulations, I don't think garden centers are allowed on commercial property. Am I correct with that?
I don't know, I'd have to check.
Garden center where?
Down on 1115. 13, a commercial zone. I think that would be a perfect place. I'd have good visibility. As you have to agree, I don't have any visibility as a garden center currently, and we're surviving. But if I move out, maybe I can have more employees, more pay, and a little more revenue to the township. Speaking with Lenny, he tells me though that you cannot put greenhouses in commercial property.
Lee, are you talking to putting it in the commercial property, or are you talking putting it over like in the business campus?
No, commercial property.
Commercial.
I'm serious.
General gardening.
That's all we need.
I mean, that's a question. I don't think you need to look it up.
Yeah, I don't. She'll have that.
Let me go one step further with that, Henry, if I could. I talked to some people down there, who'd like to move in possibly. And, you know, I'm going to go back to Tom's question here about available sewage. I understand there's only one EDU left on one side of that property, on one side of that commercial line you use. So that, you know,
If I could offer, that may be the case, Lee, but nobody wanted to connect to it. The municipal authority is now moving up to the edge of the property with a whole new line. And whoever wants to develop there will come to the edge of their property and can. Municipal authority is tired of right away. Municipal authority is installing a new line from Schoolhouse Road at the edge of the Pearson property.
you're talking Pearson property. I'm looking at Eagle's Nest,
Eagle's Nest has sewer available.
one EDU.
I'm not aware of it. There may just be one EDU there. But the municipal authority is also looking at a new line from Sheets down if the need should be to increase the capacity. There's no point in installing $500,000 or not $500,000, I think it's 140,000.
Well, I guess my problem would be if I move in there and I go over what is the EDU now? 100 and, I don't know. How many gallons a day?
150 gallons a day.
I'm sorry?
150 gallons a day.
If I go over 150 gallons a day, now I have to purchase another EDU, and that's going to be very cost prohibitive for me to extend that line, because I think it would be my responsibility then to extend it down, correct?
I can't speak to that exactly, but what I can tell you is, up to this point, we've never had a request that was denied because of lack of sewage in the area that you're talking about. I'd also ask one more question when I have the chance. My name is Logan Britton. Out of $100, how much does Penn Township get taxes? Out of $100 paid.
0.56. Our millage is 0.56.
Yeah, our millage is 0.56. You're talking about 100,000 on assessment ed?
Yes.
Yeah. You got half a mil on it. Mill on 100.
What's that dollar?
About $50, $50-some dollars.
That's the effect Penn Township can have on the tax base.
Yes. That's what we.
Okay?
We're not. Go ahead, Ed.
That's the effect Penn Township can relieve you of the school taxes, the county taxes. We cannot change. We looked into that when we were working on this comprehensive plan. We really have a very small impact that we could affect for tax abatement to attract businesses in the area. It was given consideration.
That's
It was
correct.
considered to be so small that it wouldn't have impact on bringing people in.
Quick comment on that. If you look at the Juniata County Sentinel, you'll see that up in that industrial park up there, commissioners refused to carry that burden any longer. And they dropped that tax and put it back on the businesses that are up there. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. What Mr. Chisholm's saying, I said here, listen, I've said nothing. The impact on your Penn Township taxes on a couple $100,000, you pay $100. That's what you're going to change from bringing people in here. We can't force the school or the county to do that. Township taxes are moot. You're paying a tremendous tax, Mr. Schwartz, but you're not paying it to Penn Township.
Am I paying you?
County and the school, you're not coming in here. I wish it was. I really do. I wish it was.
I have no more to give, Henry.
Well, and so is a lot of other people out here that are talking about that. That's one reason why we struggle to keep our millage down. And we do the best we can with that, still provide services with it. I made that statement at township meeting one other time, which has something to do with that. Yes, you get the county, you get the school, you get everybody to agree with that. Penn Township's no big impact to some of that, okay? And I think that's all been taken into consideration, has it not, Frank, and during the discussion leading up to where we are here tonight. There's been a broad look at all this, trying to put something together that doesn't impact what you people are really saying it is going to impact. Jody, make it quick.
Jody, listen here. What's the income on the earned income tax to Penn Township?
170,000?
Is that greater than the real estate?
Oh, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so again, back to attracting younger families, working families. When they're working, you're getting more earned income tax, which is at a higher rate than your property tax. And you're still going to get that potential $50 per 100,000, so you're going to get that extra $100 on the $200,000 home.
Okay, anybody else? Stanley.
Stanley Huxtable. When somebody walks in, the developer walks in, what do they pick up, a zoning book, any comp book, Helen, or? If I'm walking in here and I'm looking to buy something, what books do I buy?
Zoning, Aldo, subdivision land development, comp plan, stormwater.
Okay, some people just going to buy a comp plan, or, just going to buy this?
Comp plans don't sell very much. No, that normally happens if, that normally happens only if it's a brand new developer who's never been in our area.
Okay. So the developer walks in and you're changing the map from light green to dark green. Henry, you're telling me that I'll be able to develop that dark green if I want to, but I walk into the developer, I get the book and I see dark green, first thing I say is, I guess I can't build there? I mean, what do I see when I walk into the developer? Why the change? If nothing's going to change in the township, nobody wants ground anyhow. Now you went through this whole development charge. I don't know, it just doesn't make sense.
So, that's a good question.
And excuse me, one other thing, Henry. I'm so tired of hearing, nobody wants to sell their ground. I didn't plan on selling my ground up here either. And they came in and said, here's what we're going to give you. I went,
Where do I sign?
where do I sign? It took me over maybe a week. Okay? That at one time was for sale. Somehow it never got developed. But somebody wanted to buy that at one time. Maybe not today again. 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Rooftops. We need rooftops. That's why nobody wants to come here.
So if I was a developer coming into the township, coming in from New Jersey, I want to see where I can develop. I would take a look at the future land use plan and the zoning ordinance. And just say I'm looking at multifamily housing. I would look at the map and say, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 areas within the township that I'm allowed to build multifamily housing in. I would then send my guys out in the field, and they would take a look at those areas and see if it's conducive to what I want to do. And that's basically how a developer would look. If the developer was looking to build 10-acre lots or greater or estate properties, they would come in, they wouldn't worry about the R2 land, because it wouldn't allow for that size, it wouldn't be conducive to that size lot. They would start looking at the forest conservation area. So they look at basically what they specialize in, multifamily, mid-size, single-family, large single-family, and they look at the township maps and they determine what areas is conducive for them, look at the transportation network, and then they send people out in the field and they start looking at the properties. And then that's when they knock on your door and say, you know, I'm representing John Smith and we're interested in potentially buying your property for development. So that's how they use this. Now, if you're building R2 land, yeah, you wouldn't look at this right now, you would look at this area. If the township would decide to rezone that to match the future land use, no, I wouldn't be looking at that area. I would be looking at these other areas. But maybe I might want to come in and ask for a rezoning of land down through here. And maybe the township is willing to rezone a third of that.
But that's the issue. Are they willing after it's changed?
Well,
That's my question. That's my question right now. I'm sitting here looking at this map. As a developer, I'm looking at mid-green. You're telling me that right now today that is developable, not down here. I walk in, look at dark green. If the zoning map would go through and that would be changed, then you're telling me I'd have to change it back.
Yeah, but there's enough land over here that can.
I don't care about that. I'm talking about, I want to buy the mountain. I don't want to buy that ground at the other end. I want to buy the mountain. So if you change all of this zoning and all the colors on the map, you're telling me you can always come in and you can always have a change.
Township policy would be that you'd be looking at these other yellow areas and orange areas first, before you would look at this area down here.
Okay, you're right, I'm wrong. Thank you.
I'm just, that
I
would be the
know,
policy.
I understand it. I've just been a tap dance here all night. I'll shut up.
Don't see any other hands. Any comments to be offered by the planning commission? Any member?
Don't play on any more customers.
Anybody, either member of the board of supervisors?
Oh. One other thing, Stan Luxwell, when are you guys going to talk, pass the comp plan that's here right now?
Pardon?
When are you talking about passing this comp plan that we looked at tonight?
The comments that we hear tonight be taken into consideration by the planning commission for recommendation for us to approve or reject. Am I not correct, Mr. Chisholm?
Yes.
When?
And I'd like to ask anybody that has a specific idea. Planning Commission would be glad to hear it.
Question, why then did you advertise a proposed ordinance, for consideration next Wednesday to adopt the comprehensive plan?
In case no one came up and they decided they wanted to go with this, they had the option to.
Then you'd have the option, John. That's
Yes,
correct.
that's the only reason. They have the option to.
Doesn't say it has to be,
No.
but it gives you the option.
Example, we've had other ordinances that have the public hearing. No one shows up. No comments to reconsider.
Oh, does anybody, I did not know.
Sir, I'm sorry.
Oh, Dr. Schwartz, Alan Schwartz. I did not know there was even a meeting tonight until late this morning. Someone told me, are you going to be going? I said, going where? And they said, well, it's a public meeting tonight. I said, I'd love to go. So I made arrangements to get here. But I didn't know it until late this morning. I mean,
I
how
put it
do you
on the,
advertise?
I
don't
put it on the
know.
on the cable channel. I put it on our webpage. I advertised it in Duncannon Record. I advertised in the Duncannon Record to save money. Because we're talking $90 versus a couple hundred.
In the Patriot Day.
Yes.
You're talking about people that don't know what's going on to the people that do.
Mhm.
60, 70 of us here.
And it's been talked about in 2 meetings, supervisors meetings.
Yes.
Other than handing an invitation, I don't know what else I can do.
Well, how did you hear about it? How did you hear about
I go to a lot of township meetings.
We go to township meetings.
it? You should have said something.
One more question, Lee.
Well,
I'm sorry, your name, sir?
Lee Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T. The proposed change to property has a proposed change in the value of that property also. For example, the mountain, you know, I understand that, I had heard the word that it was going to be $5 million the developer was willing to pay for it. I don't know if that's a true number or not. But if you change that from the current zoning to something less desirable, that property owner that's there now stands to lose a lot of money. Will those property owners be notified that their properties are being changed?
They're not being changed in the zoning, are they? Am I not correct there?
No.
No,
This proposed future use.
proposed future use. They hasn't changed.
Anytime we change zoning, I do believe you.
We have to.
notify the-
Yeah, that's an all there. You just can't go changing it. It is the way it is. I mean, you'll be notified. You'll be going through another process similar to this later. This is only a footprint for proposal. It's a document. One more, Mr. Peters.
You say that this is just a proposal. But when are you guys planning on making this a permanent zoning shift? If this has been like this for 15, 19, 10, whatever years it's been like this, why change it all of a sudden? And number two, when is the zoning, when are you going to take recommendations from the zoning board to make this permanent? Make this legally binding? There has to be something in the back of everybody's mind on when they're going to do this. Or else we wouldn't be here tonight to do this, because it's been 19 years since the last one.
No, it was started a lot sooner than that, and it got drug out. The process got a long time. When I-
19 years.
Let me answer your question here. You say, when's this going to be changed? If this zoning is going to be changed, how long of a process would it take to go through this, to change our zoning? You'd be going through another system just like this for a period of a time of a year. Hearings, meetings, advertisements, same thing, Mr. Peters. It would, you say like you just think we're just going to say it's changed. It don't work that way.
Well, I understand that there's a process, but the thing about it is there a plan to change it?
Not at the present. No, there's no present
But why
plan.
don't we just leave things the way they were?
Can I answer that question?
Sure.
The municipal planning code says we have to review.
Yeah, that's it. The municipal planning code says
If
we
we
have
don't
to do
review-
this.
I'm sorry, I can only get one person at once.
Go ahead.
It says you have to review it, doesn't say you have to make changes. Thank you.
If you review and see a trend or a lack of a trend and don't address it, then your whole planning codes are up for challenge by developers because you did not review and update. You understand what I'm saying? It's just like when we first had to do zoning, we had to allow for every kind of use in the zoning map. If we did not allow for every kind of use, the whole zoning law was up for failure because it could be challenged. If you didn't leave uses for junkyards and even had to incorporate mining, somebody bought mining up at the last minute, we had to include mining. All uses had to be included in the zoning map. The municipal planning code says that every so often, and I think it's 15 years as a recommendation, you have to review your zoning and then make changes appropriate for the way the zoning has been used in the past 15 years. That's why some of the areas are suggested to be changed if there were to be changes made. Not to change them. This is where the changes should be made if you choose to do so. That fulfill the requirements of reviewing the plan. to let you know why this happened, how it happened. What we did is we looked at it, and we looked at it in respect of, this is the percentage of Penn Township zoned a certain way. This is the percentage that's been used that way. If it's a very small percentage that's been used of the high-density residential, possibly it would be recommended that some of that would go back to the current use for the future. If in the future, all of a sudden, high-density residential goes high use, there would be no changes to the map to reduce it.
Nancy, one more, please.
Nancy Valdez. Okay, I just now noticed, and I apologize, that future land use map is dated, I believe it's 2010, which was also the year of the public meeting, correct? So it's roughly 3.5 years since the public meeting. What's happened in those 3 years, 3+ years, and why apparently nothing's happened to that future land use map in over 3 years. Maybe this goes to what Brian was asking, the timeline, why now?
Township.
Or have there been, I'm sorry, or have there been other changes in the last 3 years?
Back in 2009, I think, or even earlier, the township requested a strategic look at the land use based upon some of the development activity that was presented before the township. That's why it's dated 2010. We took a look with the Planning Commission at the land use, came up with the future land use map. Then it was decided that the Township Planning Commission would take a look at the entire comprehensive plan. So over the course of the next couple of years, the Planning Commission went through each chapter of the comprehensive plan and updated and rewrote and tweaked those sections. So what you have before the township now is the strategic look at the future land use and all the other chapters that were updated by the Planning Commission. So it has taken 2.5, 3 years to get to this point. So that map hasn't changed since it was originally developed and agreed upon back in 2010.
So then all of the other reviewing, the reviewing of the other chapters of the comp plan, then there have been no public meetings for those?
Every planning commission meeting, right? It is,
Other than the planning commission meeting?
Yeah, that's correct. And tonight's is for all the other aspects of it. You know, in theory, all the chapters that we changed and updated are being considered tonight also.
And those changes and updates were made without public input? Okay.
I think we did have a public hearing at the Planning Commission level for other aspects of the draft about a year ago. If people wanted to comment or what they were, basically what we did was look at, okay, we'll take transportation. There's not a lot of effect we can have in transportation in Penn Township. Recreation. Okay, where was that being used? How was it being used? And what recommendations could we make to make that more useful? Small things like that. Art put a lot of time in the demographics of Penn Township. So those things were all reviewed. The focus always seems to come back to the future land use map. Once again, the reason for this whole review wasn't just for finding something to do. It has to be done so that you can stand behind your ordinances, that you fulfill the municipal planning code requirements. Nothing's trying to be done unusual here. It's just something we have to do.
Henry, can I expand a little bit? Or can I expand on that a little bit? Can I expand on that a little bit?
Yes, Helen.
Okay. Okay. We did the comp plan with the 2000 census, because that's all we had at first. We sent it up to county. County sent back their comments, like we had to by law, but they wanted us to update it to the 2010 census by then. So we had to go back through and redo everything, look at all the chapters again, which took another 7-8 months to bring us up to this point. So it wasn't just taking our time on it.
Yeah. Okay? No further comment by the board? Frank? Okay. Thank you. Motion that this hearing is be now closed.
I'll make that motion.
I second.
Okay, motion made with second. All those in favor, give their consent by saying aye. Ayes have it.